Hanal Gillen Mahariel, the child of a Dalish keeper and a Dalish hunter from another tribe. Their embrace was frowned upon. However, this did not stop them, and with time, the mother was allowed to join her lover's tribe, now with child. However, as with many stories, such a kind ending was not to be. Human bandits would stumble upon the tribe, slaughtering many, and due to this his father would fall, holding back the men in order to buy time for his mother to escape, along with the rest of the tribe. For all his magic, even he could not handle so many opponents at once. After the tribe had escaped, the strain would cause his mother to enter early labor. And it would be during birth that he entered the world, already dead. Stillborn and premature, there appeared to be no hope, until the boy's eyes would suddenly open, a brilliant gold, nothing like his mother or father's eyes. The infant did not scream, and he simply watched the tribe. It would be at this point that Paival, the elder and storyteller of the tribe, would dub the boy Hanal Gilhan, the Pathfinder, said to be the embodiment of the mythical Golden Hala, a bringer of peace and hope for the Dalish tribes. Named Hanal for short, the infant was taken in by the elder and another, named Ashala, to be cared for while his mother recovered. The boy's magic, even at a young age, could be sensed by the other elves. Paival dubbed that the child had been sent back to the realm of the living by the great god Falondin, the elven god of death and fortune, along with his twin. Named as a blessing to the tribe, there was initial celebration, until they found that his mother had left. She was found dead in the surrounding forest. The blessed child was now an orphan. For the next few years of his life, Hanal would be raised by his entire clan as a communal effort, a mother in Ashala, a father in Paival. Ferrothorn was the wise uncle, Marathari as a teacher of medicine and the arcane, even siblings in the form of Tamlin, Merrill, and Fenarel. By the time Hanal was old enough, he was not only taught to wield his magic, but also to hunt, to know the wilds, and understand the herbs that called them home. As a young boy, he would crave freedom, the tribe often overprotective, causing he and Tamlin to often get into mischief. He enjoyed these adventures, and would even learn to control his magic in order to open locks and cause even more mischief. This phase, however, would not last long, as one day his tricks would release the Hala in a panic. 3 of the tribe were severely injured, trampled, and 2 Hala would perish due to his actions. Taught a hard lesson, Hanal would begin to mature at an advanced rate. He would begin to double down on his studies, and in many ways, the regret would cause him to become the older brother of his peers. Careful, wise, and controlled, incredibly patient for his age. Due to this, he would not only pass into adulthood at an early age of 16, but also pass his trial as an apprentice keeper, allowing Merrill to take his original place. Taking the Valasin, the blood writing, the Falondin, Hanal would be considered the next keeper of the tribe, and begin to study into more than just the history of the tribe. He would study the other tribes of the Dalish, other races, work to open up trade, exchange stories and lore. His goal was simple, to begin the steps to repairing the Evenden and Dales, and move not just elves, but all races to a brighter future. Of course, fate has an odd way of looking at such things, as poor Hanal was soon to learn. Alright, everybody. Hello, and welcome to my Dragon Age Origins playthrough. So, this game holds a very special place in my heart. It came out a little bit before I graduated high school, but I never had time to actually play it. My time was mostly spent trying to survive and take care of my family. So, it was a very dark period in my life. And when I finally graduated, when things finally settled down, uh, this game was kind of my crutch to entering the real adult world. And it's probably still my favorite RPG to date. Um, don't get me wrong, I greatly enjoy Neverwinter Nights and Skyrim and all those other RPGs that a lot of people hold dear to their heart. Baldur's Gate, and it's pretty much all of BioWare's games, really. But this one, just because of the timing of when it was released alongside with my life, and similarly the universe itself, which is just incredibly dark. It is a very dark, depressed, twisted, I suppose is a good way to put it, world. And that very much appeals to both my writing style and my outlook. I'm very jaded and cynical and sarcastic, and it clicks very well with me. And I think because of that is why it just rings so true. But also just the voice acting, the storyline, all of it is fantastic. And that combined with it being the crutch that helped me get through the stress of becoming an adult for the first time, realizing that school basically prepares you in no way whatsoever for anything you have to do as an adult, and trying to find a job and move out and all that fun stuff. This is a playthrough that will ring very close to my heart, and I hope you all enjoy it. I was nervous initially for putting this up because, unlike with Neverwinter Nights, where I'm basically a narrator, I'm controlling the entire story almost except for the baseline dialogue, but I'm narrating it. I can add whatever I want into it and alter personalities as I see fit through narration. I can't really do that with this. And that's because everything's already voice acted, and you're not really on rails, but you're definitely less a reader of the story and more of a character in the story, which is why it's a fantastic RPG, but it does limit things a bit as far as how I usually do Let's Plays, because I can't manipulate the story into my vision, which means a lot of my commentary is going to be only sort of in character. A lot like with when I'm in Neverwinter Nights, and instead of narrating every single little thing, I also have my own commentary to the side of it, where it's also explaining Victor's thoughts and why he's doing what he's doing and all that good stuff. It's not exactly in character. It's from like a outside perspective, explaining the character's reasoning and what their thoughts are and such. I'll still be voice acting my character. I'll still be explaining all his reasoning, and I will act entirely only in character, whether it suits them or not. But what he will not be doing is anything that goes against the grain of what he was taught. And we'll get into his morality and such, and his way of thinking when I get into the actual character creation. For now, it's just introduction, and I'll put a tab somewhere so people can skip this for those that don't want to. But really, this is mostly just a forewarning, telling individuals that if you want to watch the series, it won't be as in-depth in character as some of my other playthroughs are. So I apologize for that, but it's also just the way the game is, and I still hope you all enjoy it. So yeah, without further ado, I hope you all enjoy, and we'll get right into character creation. So, alright, and welcome everyone to the to the character generation. So, as the character introduction has explained, I'm going to be playing a male Dalish mage, and this is only possible through mods. I'll link them in the description below for those that are interested in such. And it's basically because I have played both a warrior and I briefly played a warrior, and I played the thief through the entire game the first time I played through, obviously. And I wanted to do the mage class, but I also wanted to do the elven background, because I've been told the Dalish elf background is very, it's probably the least dark of the backgrounds, but it is very informational, I suppose. There's a better way to put that. Informative. There we go. Words are hard. As far as the history regarding elves and humans, as well as their connection to the Veil, which is what they call the Fade, and their gods, and so on and so forth, and their outlook in general. And they're very, almost like druids or shamans, and that appeals to me greatly because some of my favorite characters are based in that more primal, nature-y, excellent usage of grammar and vocabulary there, but that kind of sect. So, yeah, just a little background on why I chose it. His moral compass is very reminiscent of Victor in many ways. However, there's a very inherited limited quality about his open-mindedness, because he's very patient, he's very kind and helpful and all that good stuff. He's a great leader, a wise individual, especially for his age. But what separates him apart from Victor in that aspect is that Victor was raised with an open-mindedness to help anyone. The race didn't matter, belief, sex, faith, none of that mattered to Victor. On the other hand, in Dragon Age, especially the Dalish, are well, they're racists, essentially. Pretty much all of the races are. They have it hammered into their brains from a very young age that their way of life is more important, and that's, from what I've read, is universal for all the races. The Dalish elves to the humans are savages. On the other hand, the Dalish elves hate humans, or most of them do, or at least hold some bias against them because of what they did to their culture. They enslaved them and destroyed pretty much all knowledge. At least, like slavery in our world wasn't a horrible, inhuman, destructive black mark on humanity's history. But at least with slavery in the real world, slaves, through all the different cultures that enslaved, because it wasn't just America. We were doing that a very long time before Americans got involved, before America even existed. But that concept, the slaves' culture still existed. Their homeland still existed, and it allowed that culture to flourish once everything connected properly, once they'd gotten past the slavery, and that rich culture and the group of those ethnicities managed to survive and continue. The Dalish elves pretty much lost everything. Almost all their written lore was destroyed. Most of them can't even speak Elven. Fluently, I mean. They can reference sayings and poems and concepts and greetings, things like that, but they can't just sit down and have a fluent conversation in Elven. Similarly, the written history is completely destroyed. There's only a couple ruins, and they can't even translate it properly because they don't know the language anymore. The humans decimated their culture and enslaved them, and still enslave them to this point, though in some cities they're not directly referred as slaves, but they're basically the same thing. They're paid almost nothing, they're servants, they are treated as beneath humans, and they even strip them of their immortality. Like, the Dalish were fucked really bad, and because of that, the Dalish understandably have a very strong prejudice against the other races. The dwarves are a completely foreign concept to many Dalish elves, and really, Hanal has a very similar mindset. He's very kind and he's understanding, but the point I'm trying to drive here is he's still a Dalish elf raised in that community. Yeah, he'll open up to humans if they earn his trust, or if they seem different or special, perhaps. But he's got two strikes against him with many. He's a mage, which basically in the universe means he's the devil to most humans, if they're not caged in the circle. And on top of that, he's a Dalish elf, which are seen as savages that slaughter humans and eat them, and there's all kinds of stupid rumors regarding that kind of stuff. He's not... I won't call him a direct racist, but he definitely holds... because there's no hatred there. But he definitely holds prejudice, and quite a significant amount in many ways. And also, despite his kindness and understanding and patience, he still has a very deep primal aspect to him. He was raised among the wilds. He was raised from a very, very early state in his life that killing for food was just the way of life. The strong survived, the weak were destroyed or eaten, and he had that drilled into him even further when he was taught the history of his people. Because essentially, in many ways of that story, the Dalish were stripped of their power, they became weak, and then they were enslaved, and then their culture was destroyed. So he has this in his mind that power is the only thing that really matters in the world, which is a dangerous trait to have as a mage in the Dragon Age universe. This isn't to say that he's some demented evil creature. As I said, he's good-natured naturally, but he also will be tempted by power, and he's not exactly going to be the gentlest of individuals in combat. He'll be quite bloodthirsty, maybe borderline feral in some instances, just to not only prove a point, but to showcase that he is strong and that his connection to nature is that potent. So, just a little dip into it. There are similarities to Victor, but only in the same way that in any protagonist that is a good aligned character, there are similarities, just because they're good-natured. But his thought processes on many subjects will probably be similar, but on others he will deviate harshly. Like, if a human calls him as a servant, or mistakes him for a servant, or anything like that, he might outright punch the guy, or fling a spell at him. Like, he won't respond well to that, because that's spitting on everything that he is, and that his ancestors were. So, yeah, he's similar to Victor, and in many ways he's completely different. It's comparable to Victor's outbursts of rage, but his rage was well-founded, and mostly born of his youth. It wasn't this feral, deep primal need to take revenge and destroy, like Hanal has. So it'll be interesting enjoying the balance between his negative aspects and his innate kind soul. Because he wants everyone to get along and he wants a better world, but it's not easy to push past those prejudices. So, alright, just a little delve into his personality before we get started. I'll probably skip his design to the end, just so you guys don't sit there watching me fiddle with every little aspect. And yeah, so I'll cut here and we'll shift into the final step of character creation. Alright, welcome back everyone, and this is Hanal. I was going to put his full name there, but it won't fit, so he will just go by Hanal instead of Hanalian. And basically, he's pretty average in most ways. He has black hair, which is fairly common. Usually it's black or brown for the elves, from what I read. There's a few blondes, but it's rare. Which makes sense. They would want to blend into their environment that they were in. He has dark olive skin. And he is Volosyn. I had to remember what the term was. The markings, it's known as blood writing. It's to represent the gods that they favor. And in his case, of course, it is Falendin, which is supposedly the deity of the elves that sent him back when he was born stillborn. And beyond that, he's relatively average. I chose the voice of Suave, which I suppose is fitting.
It didn't work! It's not working! Coming through. Farewell. Oh no, that won't do. I lost a spell! I need something new! Move aside, please.
Which is, the other option was wise.
Greetings.
I feel like that's the one everyone goes to, because it's just the standard, deep, calm, collected voice. And yeah, it fits to a degree, but
Charmed, I'm sure.
that's what won me over, because that tone, not so much the words and the expression, because that's hit or miss with him. He's probably not the type to be flirty like that, but or that arrogant. However, the tone of that suits what I have in his mind, which is this. It's a relatively deep, but not booming bass, but deep enough to where you notice it, and the lilt to his voice is almost mystical, kind of like Luna from Harry Potter, if anyone gets that reference. So that's his voice, and his only abnormal trait is, of course, his glowing golden eyes, which are only sort of glowing, and those come from a mod as well, so. Alright, now as far as his statistics go, I debated rolling these, but unlike with Neverwinter Nights, the intricacies of altering these with the debug menu in the game is much more difficult, so I just went, what the hell, it's fine. And if I had my way, I would lower his constitution to 8, because he was born premature. So he's very sickly at the moment, he's weak of constitution, but his mystical power is through the roof, which is why everything gets poured into it. But if I had my way, he'd have 8, 8, 8, and then probably a 14, 18, and a 24, just to place him better. But the game won't allow that. You can't go below 10, and I suppose that's because the hero is meant to be above average, and at least average in everything else, I guess. I don't know, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. Especially since I believe stats work very differently in this game than in D&D, because in D&D you get one attribute point every 4 levels. And some epic feats will give you bonuses, and in Dragon Age I think you get like 3 every level, so the sense of balance is very much different. Now, for his skill, he naturally gets these 2, which was very fitting in my head, because he learned herbalism from the Keeper, and he also learned survival skills from his general life. So his point was torn, because on one hand, he'd be decent at combat training, but he'd also have the basic understanding of poison making, traps, and all the others. But in the end, I decided he probably focused more than any of that on coercion, which was based on his storytelling and his diplomatic studies, which were done for much of his later life just because he wanted to be able to communicate with the other races and get them to understand that the Dalish elves were not monsters to be feared as far as they had taken them. He wanted them to not underestimate the Dalish elves, because, again, power is everything. But he wanted to open doors for trade and understanding. And I think that, combined with his storytelling skill and his ability to read others, I'm going with coercion. Now, for the spells, basically, well, there was, somehow I've messed up my mod order, I suppose. That's okay. I'll add it in later. It's not a key thing, because, oh, maybe it is. No, it isn't. Basically, I got a mod that allows you to cast a spell to unlock locks. As if that wasn't obvious. However, it looks like something got messed up on that, but he wouldn't. That's mostly fine, because he wouldn't use that on anything in his own clan. I don't think. So, it should be fine for now. If it becomes a problem, I'll install it later, but this also might help keep things balanced as well. Yeah, I guess this will be fine. So, in that case, what would he be most trained in? Sorry, this kind of blindsided me. Well, I'd think he'd definitely go for the primals, more than likely, although taking a healing ability sounds fairly accurate as well. Yeah. The spell tree is also quite substantial in this, which is nice. I think he'll take Winter's Grasp and something to help keep him alive. Sounds good. So we'll do rock armor. I do remember vaguely not liking Flame Blast when I played Morgan. And could we do Nightmare? It's tempting, but I think because I'll be role-playing, I want it to be challenging, but not to the point where I'm struggling with every encounter, which I think is what Nightmare will do, so we'll stick with hard. Hello everyone, and thank you for watching. If you enjoy my videos and don't want to miss out on future content, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification button. If you would like to support me on a more personal level, offer recommendations, chat with me, or vote on future series, then consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Thank you once again for all your support, and I can't wait to see you in the next chapter of our story.